Yo guys, how we feeling? It's good to see you again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Badan. I do just different types of tutorials around songwriting, even visual production as well, content creation. Today I wanted to talk about creating a songwriting template. I tend to do these and redo these every once in a while if I feel like I've progressed and I guess my ears progressed. And so what I'll do is I will set up a songwriting template so the next time that I want to sit down to write, I can just recall this. The cool thing about Studio One is it has, like, you can make your own little templates, but that doesn't really matter. You can just save it as its own blank template, save it somewhere, and then recall it, and then save as, and name it whatever you want. But as you can see, I have a completely blank session. Completely blank. I wanted to start from scratch, so this might be a little longer winded. I'll probably put this out in a few parts. The goal with this songwriting template is to have as little latency as we possibly can, There's some plugins that I really love and I feel like get me to my desired sound faster, but you don't have to use these at all. Don't feel like you have to go out and buy them. I've just acquired them over the years, so let's jump right into it. The first thing that I want to add is Get Good Drums, of course. Load up Invasion. This is Get Good Drums' newest drum library, and this thing is a beast, as you can see. So many drums, so many cymbals. Like, I love it because you have all the options, and just because it's, they've advertised it as being like more of a metal kit and stuff like that, I'll still use this on all kinds of different things. They have triggers now on this one, so for the metal guys, it's really geared for the metal guys, but drums are drums, you know what I mean? So we'll go ahead and throw Get Good Drums on there. And now initially if you can see here on the outputs, you can see that I've already kind of pre-labeled them: kick, snare, hi-hat, racks, floors. And I catered this one to the Invasion pack because of how many toms there are on here. Rack tom, there's so many toms. But I usually, for the most part, tend to process them the same. And again, we're trying to be as economic as possible. And so what I'll do is I'll throw everything's on, racks and floors. And then also I'll come down here, I'll do the channels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say do this initially. There's tons of tutorials out there on how to do this. But once you're done doing that, save as default for all formats, because then you don't have to do this every time. Anyways, so we'll do that. We'll go over here to the kick, and we'll do kick. This also makes it easier here, as you can see. All these things that I label here are all here. So kick, trigger, overheads, goes to overheads, room close, goes to room close, room far, goes to room far. So just trying to make this as easy as I can, just so if I wanted to redo this or do it again, it's not that hard. Now you can go off and make a preset for this whole thing, but I feel like this was a good way to kind of show you how I go about doing it if I didn't have a preset or anything like that. And so just going in, just matching shapes essentially. So I'll go through this and then we'll come back once I get done. Okay, I think we are all routed for the most part. We'll find out later. One thing that I definitely want to change is this Black Beauty. With Studio One, you can click over here on this guy, contact here, under instruments, and if you click these, it automatically creates the routes for you essentially. So I'm going to go all the way until it says symbols. Okay, and we're good. Let me close out of this real fast. Now the first thing that I'll do is I will label them. I like to label drums blue. And I'll do kick, snare, hi-hat, racks, floors, overhead, room close, and then room far, cymbals of course. Okay, now that we have that all pretty much set up, I mean, I think we're pretty good on there. Let's grab a groove. Let's grab this one, song 11. Okay, so we're gonna have that going while we set the velocities. I think that's the next thing that's pretty important to do. Over in the settings and velocity curve, you can see it had its own little thing now. I don't know if this is overlooked or not, but this is something that is like super important to me, because I realize, you know, when I get these MIDI packs and they sound, I mean, like they did, check it out. You can hear the snare, the ghosts sound really loud and present, you know, and we can go in and adjust the velocities and everything, but you know, the guys at Good Drums are really good about, you know, having great MIDI files, clean MIDI files, so you can kind of just focus. But for me, I like to do, I guess, go the extra step and adjust the velocity curve of, you know, the things that I want more dynamics on, like the snare, hi-hat, the toms. And what I'll do is I will play the riff and then adjust accordingly. So let's do that real quick. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these on and just kind of give it a little rough estimate. I think roughly about there. You get a little bit more of those lower note dynamics, and so I'll automatically just kind of come in here and adjust them. And this is all just rough. You can fine tune later for sure, for sure. Same thing with the hats, kind of bring them down a little bit. Cymbals too, I like to come down just a little bit because it seems like there's some like little accents here and there, you know, that you want to make sure aren't ridiculously loud just because of the velocity curve, you know. One thing about using the grooves in the Invasion pack is you have, under the mappings, you have different presets. This one's the Invasion here. Some of them may sound like they're messed up or something. What I would recommend doing is going through each one of these with your MIDI groove pack to make sure that the right one, you know, you choose the right one. The one I had luck with was Halpern. But again, check it out for yourself and move things around too, because you can always make your own custom map, which I ended up having to with this Halpern one, because the rack tom, I didn't really like the high rack tom, you know, and so I went ahead and changed this one to A0. Where's that A0? Bam. So I went and changed that one to A0 just because I like, as opposed to personal choice, you know? So one thing I like to get out of the way is adjusting my cymbal mixer. Now this is amazing from the guys at Good Drums that they, you know, have this feature to allow us to do this, because you can't really do this in real life. You can't adjust instruments in, you know, overheads and room mics and stuff. And so we have the ability to do that. Now for me, I realized that there's a few things that are a little loud, just kind of right off the bat. I don't know the exact amount, but I usually like to turn down the hats a little bit in the overheads. They seem a little loud. Some of these here, I would say almost all of the cymbals except for the crashes, because I like the crashes to hit a little bit harder, you know? And so, get that. Same thing with the room mics. I'll bring them down just a little bit. Let's play a groove and see how it sounds. Cool. It sounds pretty good. Alright, now that we got that roughed in, I will add stuff for guitars. So I'll do one rhythm patch, and then I'll adjust it to how I want. Like, where is my patch that I use? Well, this is actually the exact patch that we used when we recorded our my band's EP. This can be downloaded on the Tone Cloud through Bias, so if you want to check it out. One thing that I usually do, just because I think my ears have gotten better, is I will turn off the compressor and I'll turn down the gain just a little bit, but I think that's really it. So once I have that, then I will duplicate them. So now once I have the duplicated tracks, I will label them RHYGTRL, RHYGTRR, just so you know, double track guitars always when you do rhythms and stuff. Well, I guess not always, but for the most part. Next thing we're going to add is bass. Now this plugin, I forgot who showed me this plugin, but it's free online. I'll throw the link in the description. But I usually throw that in there. Bass. Oh, let me color these. So for rhythm guitar, usually do red, bass, yellow. You don't have to make them the same color, but I would say try to find a home color for all your stuff. So then over time, once you start creating these and again doing the initial work of doing all the tedious stuff, labeling and coloring, it's going to, like, when you come back to them, you're going to know exactly what's going on. So that's very important. But anyways, so we'll have two guitars, we'll have the bass here. Now usually what I'll do is I'll throw like a synth track in there, just because I want to incorporate more synths in my productions, and so I will throw one in there just to challenge myself. Okay, let's try and throw some synth in there. So for the synth, I'm going to use Mai Tai, which comes stock with Studio One. It's actually a great synth. There's a lot of cool things you can do in it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, you know, I guess if you know oscillators and stuff like that. And if you don't, I would say that it's very beneficial if you do like a crash course. Just so you're not scared to like touch things, you know, you're not gonna mess up anything in this program. And so experimentation is definitely, it's the hugest thing. So I'll put a synth in there. Oh, I want to put some clean guitar, because for some reason, I don't know why, lately I've just been like digging, like, I'll get a lot of inspiration if I start with like a clean, and then I'll add different things here and there. So let's add some clean stuff. I'll label this right away, clean guitar. Maybe we'll put this like brighter, but leave it in that same section.